On this episode of Brokers Open Podcast, we talk about how to use an IDX website to generate more leads for your business. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Brokers Open Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I'm here with the big guy as usual, Matt Vi. What's up, Matt?
I would say living the dream, but the last podcast I said living the dream, and you gave me a hard time. You're like, we got to talk about the dream.
Yeah, we're not talking about the dream. You keep your dreams to yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
That being said, we do have a pretty good topic that we are going to talk about today. And why don't you tell everybody what that topic is?
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about how to make the most of your IDX connection that you have on your website, because I think a lot of agents have it, but I don't know that they leverage it the way that they could to make the most of it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some things to keep in mind to make sure that you are making the most of it.
Yep, I like that. Well, guys, before we get started, make sure you go and check out some of the links in the description after the podcast. We got some really cool free things for you down there. We'll make sure that you know to take advantage of those. Matt, first question that I always ask is always the simplest question. I know that you just said like a lot of agents have it, but let's say they don't, or they maybe they do and they don't know that they have it, whatever. Tell us what IDX is.
Yeah, it's information data exchange. Basically what it is a portal that allows agents to cooperate with each other to display information that their potential consumers or their clients would be interested in regarding houses.
Gotcha. And so what's the most common use case that you would see? Like, let's say someone's been to someone's website or whatever. What would they see that they would say, oh, that's IDX?
Right. Yeah. So if you're able to search on your own website the information that's available through the multiple listing service on your personal website, even if it's a website that you bought through your local board office or whatever, when you can search those houses, not just them being displayed, but search and see details about it, that's that information data exchange.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right. So that takes us right into like the meat of our conversation.
Yep.
And the first thing that, most agents want to hear about is, okay, well, how can I use this to generate business? How can I actually use this to generate leads that convert at the end of the day?
Yeah. So what you can do is if you have a good relationship with your provider, right, whoever you're getting your website from, whether your website is connected to your CRM or whether you built your website completely independent of it and it somehow connects with your CRM, which, by the way, absolutely, your website needs to be connected to your CRM.
For sure.
Okay. All right. So I know we know that, but let's just say that out loud, right? Regardless of where you get that from, what's going to happen is you're going to be getting that information out to the people that you know through your CRM for them to be able to start looking at properties. Here's the thing that you probably have to keep in mind, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, about some of the other parts of the topic, so we'll dig into it a little bit more, but I'm going to be really brief to begin with this. There are a lot of other places that they can get information about houses. Other agents' websites, Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com, whatever it is. There's a lot of different places that they can go to get information about that. What they can't get information on is information that they feel like they trust that is from somebody that they trust.
Yeah.
That's where your IDX really needs to come into play, and that's where you need to be relaying that information to them. So here's how you win at this. If you do a good job communicating with the people that are in your database, what ends up happening is we all know that they're going to look at Zillow. We know that they're going to look at Realtor.com. We know that they're going to look at all of these different places, right? We get that. What we have to make sure that we're doing is when they look, they come to a trusted source and says, "Is this number correct?"
Yeah.
I got my Zestimate as an example. You want the people on the soccer field that you're friends with, that you're communicating with, all that kind of stuff. You want them to say, "Hey, I was looking at Zillow and I got my Zestimate on my property. Does that look right?"
Yeah.
That's how you know you've won with your database.
Yeah.
The way that you make sure that you're getting that information to them consistently is through your IDX feed.
Gotcha.
Instead of saying, "Hey, go to Zillow as much as you possibly want and look at all the information on Zillow because it's got a bunch of great information there. And then when you get ready, call me." Guess what's not going to happen? you're not going to get that phone call.
Yeah, you know it.
Right. And they're going to call and they're going to click on something. They're going to bump into something. They're going to see that somebody's going to see that they're looking at the same house 3 or 4 times, or that they did the estimate on their house 2 times in a 30-day period. All of those things are warning signs inside of a system that somebody is getting more interested in possibly selling. Right.
Yeah.
So if that's happening on someone else's platform and it's not happening on yours, you're not getting that data. And 2, they begin to trust that information from somebody else, and that's going to override their potential trust with you if you're not careful.
Yeah, and so that makes a lot of sense. You know, a lot of agents, right? Because the use case for this is obviously, most commonly used on a website.
Right.
You know, most agents, you can go to their websites, and I've owned a marketing company, so I've been asked several times, take a look at my website, take a look at my website. A lot of it is just really all about the agent.
Yep.
Right? There's like, here's my bio, and, there's that little paragraph that everybody has. It's like, I've been a realtor for, a million years, and, it's my passion to make sure that your dreams come true, and like all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
I've sold a bazillion, trillion, billion, jillion dollars in real estate or whatever.
Right.
There's not a lot of engagement, right? Like, there's not a lot of engagement. Maybe if you meet someone at the soccer field like you're talking to, and you built some rapport, and you say, you know what, here's my card, here's my website. If you lose my card, go to my website, and here's my phone number.
Right.
IDX really helps boost
Absolutely.
the engagement of a website as well. Why don't you
100%.
talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. So what it does is it helps make sure that you're getting consistent information to them, and it's information specifically about what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? So it's personalizing that conversation, okay? It's not that you can't go to Zillow and put your criteria in and all that kind of stuff, or go to Realtor.com and put some criteria in and save your favorite searches and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely, yeah, you're going to do that. But if your website, the only thing that it has available on it is all this information about you, you're missing the important part. The conversation is really about them.
Yeah.
And so what is it? Why are they going to a real estate website? To look at houses. Period. You can't forget that part of it. Yeah. Okay? So what you have to do is you have to make sure that whenever you're having the digital conversation with them that you're having, okay? Yeah. Meaning that you've got the information, you're trying to put it out there in front of them, you're trying to make sure that you're displaying to them what you want to display to them. Don't forget why they're on your site. They're on your site to look at houses.
Yeah.
They're not in there until much later on. They're not in there trying to discover about you. They're not trying to learn more about who you are and what you do and all that kind of stuff. There's a time and place for that. I
wonder if he likes dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a time and place for that. It's much later.
Yeah.
Just stay really hyper-focused in the beginning. The reason why someone's looking at a real estate website is because they want to look at real estate. That's where the IDX really comes into play. And it's got to be a powerful integration.
Yeah, for sure. No one goes back to Zillow over and over and over to go see how the corporation's doing.
That's correct.
They're going there to view homes because that's what's powerful to them. That's what IDX can bring to your website.
Absolutely. And they're not going and looking at agent profiles.
Yeah.
They might stumble across those, and they might get information about those whenever they get a little bit more serious once they're farther down the line. But that's not why they started to go there, and that's not why they keep coming back. They're going there. They're going to the real estate website to look at real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that's really cool about that too is everyone at this point, right? It's been around long enough to know that, okay, if I put my name and my information in this box, I'm going to be contacted by 3-6 agents, depending on what what platform and program it is.
Right.
You having that ability with IDX and being able to meet that person at the soccer field, you can say, listen, you can go here, you can search the same properties and the same information, that kind of thing. And if you have a question about it, ask for info. That's only going to go to me.
Right.
Right. And you're not going to be contacted by anyone else.
Right.
That builds a lot of trust.
Absolutely.
As well as a lot of authority.
Right.
With that client as you're interacting with them. And so we've mentioned trust a few times.
Yep.
Why don't you kind of dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah. So what it does is it's going to give you the information that is important to your clients. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's be crystal clear with this. The reason why home websites display homes is so that they can gather leads and sell those leads to agents.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why they're doing that. They're not doing it because they want to help the public see more homes.
Right.
That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it so that they can sell more leads to people that'll buy them.
Right.
Right. Okay. So with that being the situation, there's that ulterior motive there. If you have your site set up with that house information that we just talked about,
Yep.
plus you have other information that is designed to help them in that situation, that's what's going to build that trust. And, you just touched on a really great point, telling them, hey, look, whenever you go in there and you have questions about anything and you just, contact me or text me or whatever it is, just know that I'm the person that's going to be helping you out with that. Me and my team are the ones that are helping you out with that. You're not going to get sold to that. This is a very important line, in my opinion. When you go and when you ask for information on my website, you're not going to be sold to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
It's important that you put that in perspective.
Yeah.
It's important that they understand that it's not just that the site is being set up so that they can grab onto somebody and sell that information to however many people they sell it to.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
That's what's going to build that trust with them, is being able to have that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And so, when it comes to business and as the listener, maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't, right? There's this ability to be nimble. There's this ability to customize what you have when you are a smaller business.
Yep.
Right? The larger you get, the more broad things get, the more difficult it takes to make changes and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Like a Zillow, who just says, we have everything. Here's everything.
Yep.
Now you can go filters and you can do these things like as a customer, but as you having the IDX on your website, you may say, listen, I don't really want to sell homes or work in properties over $10 million.
Right.
Whatever, right?
Yep.
I'm just throwing a number out there.
Yep.
You can customize what can be searched on your own IDX, right? You have the ability to own that. And so it allows you to have customizations, obviously, but also focus on specific niches that are in your market. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So you're talking about really specific engagement is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Right. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to narrow down what's displayed to them. This goes back to that trust thing. This goes back to that thing that, do you know your people well enough to know what they're looking for? And so you and I have talked about this before, right? So in Florida, pool homes are a big deal.
Right.
In Colorado, pool homes, I don't think are that big of a deal.
Yeah, skate rinks, I think they call them.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So it's not that big of a so setting up a search that is all about pool homes doesn't make any sense. And not that one of the large companies out there does that. Not that they say, hey, look, let's put these searches on there. But you can. Because you're smaller and nimble like that, you could put something on your site if you were in Florida that says pool homes in whatever city this is, and they click on it, and that IDX search just pulls that specific information. Yep. Or you can go to specific neighborhoods, and you could go to a page that has just those properties on it, but you could also put a button that says, do you want the HOA documents for this subdivision?
Yep.
You could put it on there. Now all of a sudden you're more trusted in that situation. Now all of a sudden you're more engaged in that situation, right? Between them, because you are being really specific and localized. So if somebody's on the one of the big sites, they're not going to go put all the HOA documents on there. Yeah. They're not going to get really specific about that. They're not going to know that this subdivision actually has river access. And they're not going to know that this subdivision has covenants, conditions, and restrictions that are part of their taxes that are part of the CDDs, that kind of stuff. You get the point.
Yeah.
So you can put that stuff in there because you have that search. So you could have all of the properties that are in a certain area and then have a button underneath it that says, learn more about community development districts and how much it costs you on your taxes. And then you click on it, and that can literally just go to an explanation on the county property tax site.
Yep.
These other competitors that are competing for the attention of your customers, they're just not going to go through the effort to put that in there because it is too localized.
Yep.
Absolutely, you can be that localized. Absolutely, you should be that localized. Absolutely, that's what should be going out in your monthly newsletter. Absolutely, that's what should be going out in your emails, that your email campaigns that you're sending out, and your initial follow up whenever someone reaches out and says, "Yes, send me some information about this property." That should be your initial follow up. Hey, by the way, you look at my website because I put information about the covenants, conditions, and restrictions for different areas in there. You can download a copy from my site if you'd like. All of that kind of stuff are things that allow you to go that extra step, that build that trust, that's going to create that engagement. And if you've got it set up right, they're not going to see something on one of these big sites that they're not seeing on your site.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that brings me, to a point that I want to make, because you mentioned something there. When you have, because you talked about pool homes and that kind of thing. When you have this capability of saying, okay, well, I can go into my own IDX.
Right.
And I can create this search, and I can say, show me all, like, for example, show me all the pool homes in, Glen Forest or whatever neighborhood.
Right.
Well, I can start running specific targeted ads or retargeting ads that just say pool homes in Glen Forest.
Right.
Well, and I don't have to spend a lot of money on that because, again, it's going to be a small target market on what I'm doing.
Right.
I can now have ads running for different price ranges, different pool homes, or even different neighborhoods. I can have 10 or 20 of those ads running at a very low cost.
Yep.
And that's telling me a few things. That's telling me, okay, for the people that are clicking on this one, man, this one seems really popular. Is it because it's the neighborhood?
Right.
Is it because it's pool homes? No, it's not, because I've done pool homes in all these neighborhoods.
Right.
Is it because of the price range? Is it because of the zip
Absolutely.
codes, the school districts? Whatever. I can gather a lot of information from my
100%.
ads based on just having IDX capabilities.
And then you know where to focus
on my website. Then I know where to focus, and yeah, that's spot on. So you're right on with all that. So when it comes to IDX, we've talked about a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you want to add to the conversation to close it out, or are we ready to put a bow on it?
Yeah. So in an upcoming Mastermind BOP Live, we're going to talk about how it impacts SEO, because that is important to agents.
Yep.
Okay. We're also going to talk about how to set some of that up in a way that does allow you to generate more leads from it. And we're going to dig into both of those things. So as always, if they can't get the live version of it, just let us know and we can send you the replay.
Yeah, for sure. So that's one of the links in the description below, guys. So if you want to register for BOP Live and make sure that you attend those to learn a little bit deeper live with Matt and I about some of these topics, make sure you register. It's absolutely free to attend. You just have to put your name, your email address into the form that allows us to send you the Zoom link essentially on Thursday mornings to access that. We'd love to see you there. We love meeting listeners in person as often as we can, and. Matt and everybody else, don't forget that Brokers Open Podcast is not just about opening the door to more opportunities. It's about closing more transactions.